Yo, Brendan, what are you wearing? We got merch now.
Yes, indeed, Matt Fry. We do have merch, and I'm now wearing it and rocking it. We've got the Reds Relay podcast merch coming to you very soon. Matt Fry kind of made this happen for us. Welcome back, everybody. We're back to the Reds Relay podcast. It's good to be back. And like we had in our little intro there, we now have merch. And I've got the shirt right here. It's got our banner logo that you can see behind me if you're watching on YouTube. And then we've got also these hats. And honestly, I really like the way these turned out. Kind of didn't really know what we were getting into. Looking at some of the designs and what we wanted to do, and we weren't really sure if, some people wanted to buy them. How much, there's a lot of logistical things that go into it. So, we weren't sure if we were kind of ready for this, but here we are. And it looks pretty good, Matt Fry.
Good, yeah.
So Matt Fry made all these for us, like he does most of our designs. So yeah, I like the way they turned out, and hopefully we will have these available for you very shortly. We only have a few currently, but we're gonna get these out, I think pretty soon. So yeah, keep posted on the Instagram. Keep subscribing to us on and liking our videos. We're gonna be giving up showing some updates of our merch and some different content we got coming your way. So, this is just the next step for us, and we're definitely really excited. So let us know in the comments what you think about the designs, or what you think we should change, or, things like that. If you guys are interested, leave comments, DM us on Instagram at Reds Relay if you are interested in a shirt or a hat. So I think we're going to jump into our episode today. We've got a few things to talk about. We got a quick recap of the last about a half a week now, a Twins series and a current Braves series going on right now. And then we are going to, as part of our end of the season kind of wrap up, we're going to be doing a top 10 Reds of 2024. We're also, me and Matt Fry are going to have a little debate about the National League Rookie of the Year between Paul Skeens and Jackson Merrill. Yes, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to go ahead and kind of jump into it, I guess, with a little bit of a Reds recap for you. So, recently the Reds played the Minnesota Twins, who are in the playoff race currently in the AL Central. And, like any other good team that plays the Reds up their game. Matt Fry.
Yeah, of course, every time the Reds play a playoff team or anybody in the wild card race or anything, they just end up sweeping them. I mean, they didn't sweep the Twins, but they
kind of beat them pretty good.
Swept some pretty good teams in this league, and won the series against the Twins. Doing it with the Braves right now, undefeated against the Braves.
So
they're
far
playing
this
right
season,
now, yeah, to this day. So
so they finished up a Twins series where they win the first two games of the series by pretty good margins. The game one being 8-4. Aguilar pitches pretty good, 6 1/3, 3 runs, 4 strikeouts. Friedl,
I think they're undefeated when Aguilar pitches. I think I saw a stat.
Is that true?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, you might be right.
He's kind of like the who was that last year?
Luke Weaver
Luke
for a
Weaver.
while. Yeah, which Aguilar's a lot better than Luke Weaver, but yeah, it's kind of that same concept where no matter really how he pitches, because he's had some rough starts. No matter really how he pitches, the Reds seem to kind of bring the offense, I guess, and give him a lot of run support. So he gets the win, 6 1/3, 3 runs, 4 Ks. Friedl homers, drives in 3 runs. He had a really, really good series. And then Ellie caps off a 6-run inning in the 7th or 8th, I think. And he hits his first career grand slam, which John Sadak did a, what do you call that? Like a negative jinx, or
A reverse jinx.
A reverse jinx, not a negative jinx. I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, reverse jinx on the Ellie De La Cruz grand slam. So that was pretty cool to see. Ellie hadn't had a homer in a while too, so it's good to see him hit the ball hard a couple of times. They looked really good in game one. And then in game two, they didn't really skip a beat, win 11-1, just in complete control in the first couple of games. And Nick Martinez once again was fantastic. 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. Friedl stayed hot, went 4 for 4 with a home run. Fraley showed off a little bit of power and hit a home run. And then Fraley, Friedl, and India all collect 2 hits. And Suter gets I put on here 3-out save, but it was actually a 3-inning save. And he pitched once again really good out of the bullpen. I know you love to see that because you love some Brent Suter. We're going to talk
big Brent Suter guy.
We're going to talk a little bit more about him today. And then game 3, they kind of just come out flat and don't really play good. They lose 9-2. I think the Twins were a little bit frustrated losing a series to us, since we're not really in the race anymore. And they're fighting in an AL Central, that's really tight right now with, Detroit now back in the mix. Kansas City's been good all year. Minnesota's kind of that team. And, obviously Cleveland's been really, really good all year. Jake, are they wire to wire so far?
Cleveland's up like 5.5, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
but have they been in first all year?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Cleveland's, held down the number 1 spot. And the Twins, are probably the most playoff experienced team just because they have, they've been that top dog the last 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah,
I think now.
every year the Twins surprise me. I'm like, this roster doesn't look that good, and then they just go out and perform year in and year out.
I think they're kind of they're kind of the Brewers.
The Brewers, yep, I was gonna
of
say
the NL Central. So
of course, they just clinched the NL Central.
They did, yes, they did.
other day.
I think that officially now
Yep.
they have clinched the NL Central. So, they play a pretty good series, and the Reds kind of bring it to them, except for game 3, obviously. But excuse me. So yeah, Louder gets his second loss of the year. 3 runs, 5 Ks. Not his best game, but if that's going to be his low end of starts, that's you're going to have a really good season out of Rhett Louder next year if he makes the rotation out of spring training. The bullpen kind of blows the game. I don't want to say blows the game, but they didn't really have the lead. But Santillan came in when Louder came out and gave up some inherited runners from Louder. Not his best outing. Lugumina was bad. Wilson was bad. So not a good overall, or not a good overall showing by the bullpen. I think they were a little bit taxed. It's you're getting towards the end of the year and these guys start to get really tired, and some of the guys aren't able to adapt to these longer seasons when like a guy like Casey Lugumina, who's kind of been up and down. Some of these guys have been injured. Santillan up and down. So towards the end of the season, you see a lot of arms really start to kind of get fatigued, not throw as well. So Stevenson did have a 2-hit day. So I thought it was an encouraging series. Like we said in the last episode, these guys obviously are pretty much out of it, but they're still playing for they're playing for next year.
Playing for next year, yeah.
And they're playing for, contracts. These guys are trying to put together good seasons to, get their money's worth per se. So that's kind of all I've got for the Twins series. Braves, they are currently playing the Braves in a 3-game series. This is the final homestand of the year. They will play Atlanta the rest of the week. And then on Friday, they will welcome the Pittsburgh Pirates to Great American Ballpark for the final series at Great American Ballpark of the 2024 season. Game 1, Matt Fry. We get a little Rally Reds comeback. It's nice to see that every once in a while.
Yeah, it's only their second or third maybe of the year, I think.
Yeah, haven't really had
Well,
a
not
ton
comeback.
of.
They've had a couple comebacks, but they haven't had many walk-offs. That's what I read, but not too many comeback wins either.
Yeah, and they were down 5-1. Williamson, we're going to talk a little bit. Obviously we've heard the news about Williamson. We're going to bring that up here in a moment. He left the game with an elbow injury. And then they were down 5-1. They just looked flat, not good. My chair's really squeaking. Just looked flat, didn't look very good at all. And the offense kind of just rejuvenated late in the game. Noelvi Marte had a really good game, looked really good at the plate.
Finally.
Yeah, it's been a long. It's kind of funny. I'm saying it's been a long season for Noelvi because he's only played like 50 games, but it just seems like it's been a very tough road for him this year. But he put together some really good at bats. I think that he worked 16 pitches in his first 2 at bats yesterday, so that was definitely encouraging. Steer hits a 2-run home run to give the Reds a 6-5 lead. That makes him the second Red this year to have a 2020 season of 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. That's really good to see from him.
Him and Ellie, the first Reds teammates to do that since I think Eric Davis and Larkin.
Ooh,
I think I saw that stat.
Good,
Yeah.
Okay, good stat. I like that. So and it's funny we've brought it up before that Spencer Steer has not had his best year. Like if you look at last year, it felt like, I mean, he he had a fantastic rookie full season last year. And this year has been a little bit of a down year, but he's still 2020. He has 91 RBIs now. So, he's just been a mainstay in that lineup. He's let off some game. He's batted cleanup. He's hit fifth. Last year he hit seventh pretty much all year. So he's just so consistent for them. And I'm a big fan of Spencer Steer. So it's nice to see. He was sitting on 19 home runs for almost a month now.
Yeah.
So
hopefully this is the end of his little sophomore slump he had towards the middle of the year. Started off really hot, and hopefully he picks it back up again for next season.
yeah, so that was good to see from him. So that gives him his 20 home run and 20 stolen base season to go along with Ellie's, I think, 23 and 64 season. Diaz gets his 28th save of the season. He has looked a lot better as of late. It's good to see. You want to really insert that confidence back into him going into the offseason. You don't want to leave that doubt in the offseason with him, because with a young pitcher like that and a high leverage guy, you want him to come back with loads of confidence for next year. So, they win last night, good comeback win. Then they've got tonight. I don't know the pitching probables. I didn't put it on here. Can we find that? Somebody? You got it on? Matt Fry's pulling it up.
Talking about the game going right now?
Yeah, they're playing right now. They started at 6:40. It is.
Is it Junis?
Oh, Junis. Yeah. So Jake Junis will go to the hill for the Reds, who's been really, really good. I don't know score. It says top four. I didn't see the score, but Jake Junis to the mound. He's looked really good as a starter. And they're facing Schwallenbach, who I don't know a ton about. He's another one of those young Atlanta arms that they just farm out of that system. So many in the past. You've had your Ian Andersons and your Kyle Wrights that haven't really reached their potential. And then the rookie, who was the rookie they faced last year it was Ellie's cycle game. What's his name? Smith Shawver. Yeah. So a lot of these young right-handed pitchers they bring up. So he's just another one. We'll see kind of how his career goes. He hasn't been great, I don't think. I could be wrong on that, but that game's going on tonight, and then they'll have game 3 on Thursday, and then bring the Pirates the Pirates will come to GABP this weekend for the final home series. That's kind of our Reds recap. Not a ton to talk about. We did a podcast not too long ago, so there's not been a ton, and they've had a couple off days, so not a ton in between. And we're winding down the year, so we're trying to kind of get away from the game to game breakdowns, I guess, because to us fans, these games don't mean as much. But like I said, these guys are still playing hard. So, the main thing that we're going to talk about in today's episode, part of our, breaking down the end of the year, kind of doing a recap of the whole season, we're going to be doing a top 10 Cincinnati Reds 2024 ranking. So I think starting off, the first couple of names that we're going to go through these are honorable mentions, guys that I don't think deserve to crack the top 10. And I could have, thrown a couple more in here, but I think these guys have been good, but I don't think that they have been top 10 good on this team. And the names that I'm talking about are Jeimer Candelario and Brent Suter. So we have Jeimer Candelario up for you right now. So yeah, Jeimer's, he's been, and the injury doesn't help. He's kind of been nagged by the knee all year. It's been hard for him to kind of get going. He had the really hot streak was that May? No,
it was July.
It was later in the summer. Yeah. Where he, carried them offensively. So, but I think, not being in the lineup the last month plus has kind of he keeps me from putting him on the list. I would think.
Yeah. He's just not playing up to what everybody thought we were going to get from Candelario when we signed him this offseason.
And I think the extra base hits still, give him value, because he's been a guy that is still going to hit the ball at the ballpark. He has 20 home runs. I believe he has 20 plus doubles. He's been solid. And the other guy's Brent Suter. So I almost wanted to put Brent Suter in the top 10, because we have made it apparent that the guys that we really like are those guys that can kind of do everything on the mound. So the guys that can start games, they can open games for you, go 1-2 innings or whatever. And then the guys that can come out of the bullpen, like he did against Minnesota, where he went 3 innings and got the 9-out save
after Martinez.
So I feel like for Brent Suter, it's been a pretty good year. I think we've gotten exactly what we thought we were going to get from Brent Suter.
Yeah, no, I love Brent Suter. He's just a left-handed strike thrower, and sometimes that's what you need out of the bullpen. Give it a different look, kind of, to the hitters.
Yeah, and so I like what I've seen from him, and so yeah, I think we're gonna kind of those are my honorable mentions. Another guy I could have mentioned was Diaz, but it's been kind of a weird year for Diaz. He's looked really good as of late, but I feel like he misses our ranking here. So I think Matt Fry is going to start us off with our first name in the top 10. So coming in at number 10 is...
Yeah, this is kind of like what we did last episode when we had like tier rankings, but this is a little bit more in depth. So at number 10, we had Buck Farmer, which is a guy we thought was going to struggle this year and maybe be a DFA candidate towards the beginning of the year, and come to find out he's like going to be one of our better bullpen guys late in August and September. I think, is he hurt right now? I'm not sure, but
he could be.
I just haven't really seen.
But
yeah,
what you're talking about is the consistency of him.
He's been
all year.
available all year, and he's done his job every time he goes out there.
I think if you would have told me that Buck Farmer was going to be on our top 10 at the end of the year, obviously it hasn't been a great year, but I would have told you that you were crazy. Like, there's so many good position players, there's so many good starting pitchers on this team. To have a guy like Buck Farmer in the top 10 would have been, and if you disagree with any of these, let us know in the comments. DM us on, blow us up on Instagram, or let us know how you would change these rankings. But I think Buck Farmer deserves to be on this list. He has been, he hasn't complained about his role. Some guys don't like pitching in games that are blowouts, especially when you have numbers as good as Buck Farmer. So I feel like for me, he's just been rock solid all year, and it's been really nice to see him come out of the bullpen and, keep games. If they're winning by a lot, he'll go 2 innings and save some arms, different things like that. So he brings a lot to the field. So number 9 is another bullpen arm, and arguably probably their best bullpen arm this year has been Sam Maul. I really like what I've seen from Sam Maul this year. We got him, at the trade deadline last year from the Oakland A's. He's been fantastic. Another left-handed look out of the bullpen, and a guy that, I thought was going to be good before the year, but I didn't think would crack the top 10. I think when you're talking about bullpen arms, you think of guys like Diaz, and you think of guys like Fernando Cruz for how good he was early in the year. But, those guys don't make our list. But a guy like Sam Maul, who, again, has pitched in the 3rd inning. He's pitched in the 7th inning, the 8th inning.
Yeah, he's kind of like Buck Farmer in the way we thought he could have been a DFA candidate earlier, and he got sent down to the minors a couple times. He got sent down to Louisville, I believe, earlier in the season.
Could be right, yeah.
And he had that whatever inning scoreless streak.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Everybody was like, "Why are you sending him down?" And he's pretty good at it. I mean,
he's
probably
been their best arm overall.
Yes,
because like Cruz hit a wall, Diaz hit a wall. Sam Maul really hasn't. He gets. Every reliever gets hit. It's not. You're not, unless you're Emmanuel Clase, you're not going to have a perfect year.
I think the number 9 and number 10 on our list are both probably top 3 bullpen arms that we had this year.
So that's kind of our last true bullpen arm. Hint, hint. There's another guy on here that probably pitched in the bullpen at one point this year. But at number 8 is
Santiago Espinal.
Santiago Espinal. Tell us a little bit about Santiago Espinal, Matt Fry.
He's kind of kept this team together the past couple months, honestly. He's one of our more consistent hitters and probably one of our best hitters over the past month. And I don't know what he's doing too much now, but you couldn't take him out of the lineup and cause Noelvi Marte to stay out of the lineup, and you just couldn't take him out, and somebody had to do it, and Santiago stepped up.
And I think for the value, like for the sole value of Santiago Espinal, they're not paying him. He's a minor league signing, for this year. He had to make the club out of spring training. So for me, he has been, I probably could have put him higher on this list just because at one point during the season, he was our best hitter, which is kind of crazy to say. And that maybe shows you why the Reds have not had a great year, because you have a guy like Santiago Espinal. No disrespect to him, but, he's kind of carrying the offense at one point. And I think the versatility is a big thing too.
Yeah, no, that's great to have.
Him being able to play short, third, second. I mean, he's been playing the outfield too. Yeah. So he's been spectacular all year. We've talked about him in previous episodes as well. Actually, one thing I didn't mention about this. So Ty France, I don't have on this list. So I should have mentioned this before we started, but the criteria that I basically drew out for this was you had to have played at least 50 games. Ty France has only played 42. I think tonight's 42 and 30 innings pitched. That was kind of like the baseline, because like we could put like Rhys Hines in here because his numbers are crazy, but he's only played a week. So, guys like that, that's kind of our criteria. So I wanted to mention that before we continue. But number 7 is our center fielder, TJ Friedl. TJ has had an odd year, but it's been a good one. I think for him, it's a little bit of bad luck because he's been hit in the hand twice, and just had the diving play in the outfield where he hurt his knee, I believe it was. He just had been banged up a lot, but he still played 70 games, I believe, and been really good. More of a power bat this year. 15 home runs.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him next year if they go back to the leadoff hitter.
Do you mean in the lineup?
Yeah, in the lineup. Yeah. Like what they're going to do if you keep India there or Friedl, a healthy Friedl.
Yeah.
Bell's got some decisions to make. If it is Bell, I saw Crawl. Did you see that Crawl? They said they'll reevaluate everything
with David Bell.
managers,
To see what David Bell. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what they do with Friedl and where they put him in the lineup.
Yeah, and it's just been for him. I mean, he's on pace to drive in almost 130 runs in a 162 game season. So the power's been off the charts. He hit 18 home runs in 155 games last year.
Yeah, what did he hit last year? Maybe that in a whole year.
That was hit 18 last year.
Oh, last year,
whole season. Yeah. And everybody raved about his offense last year. He was very good last year, but he's got 15 home runs right now.
Yeah,
I believe. I could be wrong. I think it's 14
it's
or 15.
getting up there.
So he's pushing his home run total. He could hit his home run total this year and only play 70 to 80 games, half a season. So I think he definitely deserves to be on this list. The next guy, I'm going to let Matt Fry introduce him, but I think this next guy was interesting. We actually almost talked about maybe moving him up the list a little bit, especially after last night, because last night showed that, okay, he's actually having a great year. So at number 6.
And number 6, we got Spencer Steer, as we talked a little bit about him earlier in the episode, and how he's coming around being one of our better hitters again. And like I said, hopefully coming out of that sophomore slump that he had, and just he's going back to his old self, and it's glad to see that.
Yeah, just Steer always gives you good at bats, and he being only a second year full-time player has shown that he brings professional at bats. That's the bottom line. I think when you look up and down the lineup and you think about a guy like Joey Votto, and now I know like in his prime, Joey Votto never hit 230. I understand that. I'm not saying they're the same player, but when you look at Joey's profession, his at bats, they were always so professional. Working counts, you never see Votto, late in his career you did, but in his prime years, you never just see him go down on 3 pitches. It was always working the count, taking pitches, fouling pitches off, being able to hit the ball to all fields. And I think the two guys in this lineup that do that are Steer and India.
Yeah, you can't take Steer out of the lineup even when he's struggling. He leads the team in RBIs.
91. Yeah.
He needs to be there in the middle of the order to get some runs in.
Yeah,
somebody's got to do it, and they don't have many like right-handed hard like power hitters.
Right, and he's been there. He's just been there, kind of steady Eddie, just in the middle of that lineup all year. 91 RBIs, 20 home runs, and you wouldn't expect a guy like him to have 20 stolen bases too. You know what? And that's like everybody's watching like Ohtani, what he's doing, and you're watching what Ellie's doing. But sometimes, and so we see these numbers so inflated by these great players that you don't realize how tough a 2020 season is. Like Matt Fry said, the last time that 2 Reds teammates did that was the 90s, with Eric Davis and Barry Larkin. So, it's kind of like it gets overlooked. And it's funny because MLB posted it last night, and they posted, and then you see the comments, and people are like, "Wow, who is this guy?" Or I would have never expected that. That's how good he's been, and he's such an underrated player. I feel like maybe we could have had him higher on this list. There's been a lot of individual standouts on this team, but Steer, I think, has been probably, he's definitely been a top 10 player on this team for sure. So moving on to number 5, this might be a little bit of a controversial one, but I am a what have you done for me lately kind of guy. And number 5 is Nick Martinez. Halfway through the year, I don't think people thought that Nick Martinez was going to be a top 5 player on this team, but in my opinion, he is. We talked last episode about the Swiss Army knife factor with him, being able to use him at different points in the game as really just, a huge tool for David Bell to go to. And, being able to start and go 6-7 innings of, one-run baseball against really good teams, a veteran presence. I love the way he carries himself in the dugout, in between starts, and I keep burping. And, in between starts and during his starts. I love the way that he's really working with these young guys, especially now that Montas is gone. He's been, and I think before the year I talked about him being one of their go-to guys, as far as the guys that they signed. So I really like what I've seen from Nick Martinez. I know it was a shaky start for him, as a starter. I think he had a ERA somewhere in the 5s, but I know you kind of agree with me on this, that Nick Martinez has been fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to be good. I didn't really like the signing. I was like,
Okay.
we're giving all this money to this guy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, he's never going to be in the rotation and anything. He has to be in the rotation
Right.
now with injuries and Williamson getting hurt and Hunter Green getting hurt, Lodolo, Ashcraft, all these guys getting hurt, and someone had to step up. And he has to have pitched the most out of anybody on the Reds this year, like innings wise.
I think it said 162.
Yeah, the
that might be
availability
high.
is really good to get out of Martinez.
But I think one of the reasons he gets overlooked is because when you look at and you take his numbers and you lay them out, you don't see a ton of strikeouts. You don't see, when he starts, he doesn't have 12 to 15 wins, so you don't say, wow, he's an elite starting pitcher. The ERA is not crazy. It's like a 3, 4, but it's because he just kind of gets thrown into anything. He's thrown into the 8th inning role. We keep talking about it, but he's thrown into the 8th inning role, 7th inning. Hey, he's going to open for 2 innings and then be able to pitch in 2 days. Or he's going to start and go 7 innings and, shut out the other team. So, the stats themselves, when you look at them, they don't jump off the page because he's pitching in so many different roles. But I think that's what makes him so valuable. And he's been lights out as of recently. So that's where he comes in on our top 10. And at number 4, we have...
Got the Reds fan favorite Jonathan India, one of the rookie of the year a couple years ago, and he had a little bit of a rough couple of years. The past 2, like last year, it wasn't as good as his rookie year, and then this year he's kind of picked it up again as our leadoff hitter, and he's batting like 250.
Back to that leadoff spot, yeah.
Batting 250 and hitting home runs like he hasn't before.
Right.
And he's played a decent second base, and it's all you really could ask for with him. And there was talks about trading him, and I think we both agree we did not want him to get moved.
He's been a leader for this club
And, yeah.
since he's gotten here. And is there something else you wanted to add? Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah.
But he's been healthy all year. He's played 141 games. He has hit leadoff for them all year. And he's controlled that clubhouse. It's funny because we say he's a leader on this team, but he's still a baby in this league. He's only been in, he's only 27 years old. And his fourth full season, well, even a couple years ago, he didn't play 150 games. He only played like 90. Or no, it says he played 103 games in 2022. But he has been just so consistent for them. He has some down times, but 14 home runs, 13 stolen bases, a 739 OPS. He has kind of struggled a little bit recently. He had that really hot streak in August where July and August where he was just so good. But for me, I think this team does not go without Jonathan. Ellie is their best player without a doubt. It's not close. Ellie De La Cruz is their best player. But I would argue that one of their, if not their most valuable player, could be Jonathan India.
Yeah, there's like a theme up here with the top 5, 6 guys, and it's availability.
Right.
And India's been able to play every
Availability
single game.
is the best ability. Any baseball person will, well, any sports person will probably tell you that. But yeah, so I think Jonathan India definitely deserves to be number 4 on this list. You know, and these guys are kind of interchangeable. You know, you could maybe put Steer at 4 and India at 6. You know, you could maybe put Jonathan India in the top 3. I don't know, but I think these next 3 guys are probably undisputable as far as the top 3 from this past year. So number 3, which before the year, this would have been a bit of a surprise, but number 3 is Tyler Stevenson, the Reds catcher. Tyler is definitely having a career year, and you know it's been nothing short of spectacular from him. The defense has gotten better. He has become more of a power bat this year, which I thought was going to be, you know, more of his MO in his career. You know, obviously he's still very young, you know, but my computer's freaking out. But he's still very young, and you know he's still learning the position of catcher, even though he's played there, you know, for a while now. But he's still only 27 years old. He has 18 home runs, a 790 OPS, so he's reaching that 800 threshold, which kind of makes you in my opinion, it makes you not an elite hitter, but it makes you a very good hitter in this league. 59 RBIs. You know, he's walked more this year. Overall, for me, I think the slug is the biggest thing. The fact that he's hitting more home runs, he's hitting more 24 doubles this year, which is a career high. 18 home runs is a career high. Pretty much career highs in everything. RBIs, you know, so before the year, I kind of talked about Luke Maile getting more time behind the plate, and that's just, you know, not been the answer for the Reds. It has been Tyler Stevenson. He has carried them this year offensively.
You cannot even put Maile into the game anymore.
Yeah.
And Stevenson, the big thing for him was injuries, and he's suffered a few past couple years, and this year he might have had a stint or 2, but he was
hit on the hand
like before, been
in
available
Texas, yeah.
as many games as he can.
Yeah, again, like we keep talking about, availability is huge, and especially as a catcher, and when you're hitting at an elite level that Tyler Stevenson is hitting, you know, in my opinion, he's up there with the Real Mutos and the William Contrerases. You know, he's had that good of a year. You know, if we get this Tyler Stevenson last year in the 9-hole, it's a lot different of a year.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they didn't have the pitching that they have this year, last year, but he's having a career year, and you know, and if you haven't checked out our interview with him, go check that out. It's on Instagram and it's on YouTube, I think, too. So go check that out. We thank Tyler for doing that. So number 2, tell us who it is, Matt Fry.
Cy Young candidate Hunter Green. Maybe not so many more, missing a couple
injuries,
games.
Yeah.
But he has been so good for the Reds, and that one stretch, was it June maybe or August, where he gave up like 2 runs or something? One run, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been, I mean, just lights out all year, and it really does hurt not having him the last almost a month now. He's been out for a while, and with an injury that.
Coming back Sunday though, and if he kept up his same pace, he's in there in the top 3 conversation.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Chris Sale's got some good numbers, but I think if Hunter Green, if he kept the pace that he did going into it, it would have been a conversation to have.
Yeah, I mean not career highs, but he will have career highs in strikeouts. He only needs 2 more to tie his career high with 162 currently, 143 innings. You know, he'd be at more now. I think he'd be pushing 200 strikeouts for sure. If he had not been injured. The only thing, you know, with him is like he hits batters a lot. He leads the league, and still, after being out for a month now, he leads the league in hit by pitch, which is just kind of a weird stat. But what's crazy about that is he walks a lot of guys and he hits a lot of guys, but his whip is still a 1.019, which is elite. It's elite for a starting pitcher with a lot of innings, and that shows you how difficult it is for guys to hit him. I don't have his batting average against up here, but at one point I believe it was like a $143. That was his batting average against.
I knew he led the league, I think,
which is an elite. That's put you in an elite category with elite names. You know, and kind of a Cy Young race that's kind of thin this year. You know, you have Chris Sale, who's pitching really well, and, you know, the Paul Skeens debate, you know, whether or not he has enough innings to to qualify because he doesn't qualify for ERA, which Hunter Green now does not qualify for ERA because he's missed some time. But, so it's kind of a thin race. After that, it kind of drops off. Shoto Imanaga's had a good year, but I think Hunter Green's had a better year. So it kind of drops off. And I think, he would definitely be in that top 3 for Cy Young voting if not the injury. So he, without a doubt, is a top 3 Red on this team. Maybe you switch him with Stevenson just because Stevenson's been healthy all year. I don't know. To me, I think Hunter Green has been the second best Red of all year. And obviously, at number 1 is Elly De La Cruz, and that's goes without saying. He's been Elly. He's been electric. He's been fun. You scratch your head sometimes at some of the things he does, good and bad. Because he's still very young, only 22 years of age. So he has his faults. He leads the league in errors, leads the league in strikeouts. Like, I get all of that, but Elly De La Cruz has been nothing short of absolutely spectacular this year. He's still a plus defender. Can you shut that? I think it's echoing a little bit. I heard my voice echo a little bit. Okay, yeah. So he's still been an elite defender, even though I know the errors are there, and he leads the league by, I think he's ahead by 6 errors in front of O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah, playing shortstop, you're gonna make the most errors on your team,
Right.
and up there in the league.
Right.
So.
And Gunnar Henderson makes a lot of errors, and, O'Neal Cruz makes a lot of errors. So the errors are definitely, going to happen for him, and he's still a young player, still in position. It's a lot harder for him to play short, too. And I think that's why O'Neal Cruz has a lot of errors, too. When you're that tall and that lanky, the plays that come right to you, those routine plays can sometimes become more difficult than when he's laying out for a ball or when he's having to stretch, or make a long throw or something like that. So he's still a plus defender, 34 doubles, obviously a career high. Career highs in everything, actually. Triples, home runs, RBIs, obviously the 64 stolen bases, which have kind of slowed down as of recently. I think he, in his last 10 attempts, he's been thrown out 5 times. So it's been a little bit, teams are starting to pitch out now because they're willing to take that. They're willing to take a ball to throw a guy like Elly out who's going to be standing on third base in, 3 or less pitches. So he's without a doubt number 1. I know we talked about India maybe being their most valued player just because of his leadership role and things like that. But Elly is 100% their best player, and it's not even close. There's absolutely no debate. An 811 OPS, and this is after him struggling for a couple of weeks. He had the Grand Slam, obviously, but, other than that, he's kind of slowed down. He's been, and obviously our top 2 were our All-Stars this year. So nothing really changed after the All-Star break, so I can't wait to watch him. Hopefully we continue to get a healthy Elly De La Cruz, because that's the only thing stopping him is health. And so far so good. He's been perfectly healthy, knock on wood, so if he's playing 150 plus games a year, he's going to be a top 10 player in this league. Like he is. And he's only 22, which is so crazy. You think 5 years down the road from now, 5 years is a long time for baseball. And he'll be 27. 27 years old. Like, he will still be in, like, almost 27's like kind of beginning your prime. 26, 27 is like the beginning of your prime, and then normally like 32 is kind of the end of it. So he's not even in his prime. He's a baby in this league, and he is just going to continue to get better. I'd be curious to where they put him in the lineup next year with some more guys healthy, like McLean coming back.
Yeah, if we had a healthy McLean and the Steer we had last year, and then like India this year, it's like you have to pitch to Elly. It's like sometimes this year you could pitch out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you're not worried about the couple guys behind him. But if we had those guys in the lineup around him and you have to pitch to him, like he gets on
Right.
a lot more times and steals a whole lot more bases and just causes more havoc like he has.
And it's funny because they talked last year about how he's got to make all these adjustments, and as a fan, you're always wanting more. You're always wanting more out of your players. You're always wanting more out of your team. But last year it was the strike. Obviously he's striking out a lot this year, but it was always about the strikeouts and then the errors, and he just wasn't. The power wasn't there. He only hit 13 home runs last year, and things like that. But then, and like the plate discipline, even though he's striking out a lot, his plate discipline has gotten way better. He has 68 walks in 150 games, which isn't like a staggering number. You know, he's not Juan Soto, but for a second-year player, you're already seeing that improvement. Every number is better. The slug is better. The OBP is better. The OPS is better. So you're seeing adjustments. You've seen a swing change. He's toned it down a lot. He's gone to more of kind of a toe tap. You know, he's getting closer to that toe tap that I want to see from him.
His right-handed swing looks a whole lot better.
His right-handed swing looks a lot better. It's still less than his left-handed swing, but he's making those adjustments. So think if he's healthy again for next year and the following year for 160 games, what you're going to see. You potentially have a, 40-70, that Ronald Acuna type player, and the powers kind of like went down. I thought maybe he was on pace at one point to hit like, I think 35 or 35 to like 38 home runs. So, the powers kind of dipped down a little bit, but with next year, some more healthy guys getting some more protection for him, I look for him, if he's healthy, to have an MVP type year next year, without a doubt. So he is 100%. I don't think that's a debate.
And he just hit a triple.
Really?
And his 9th triple of the year.
Perfect. So another extra base hit for him. So yeah, that's going to do it for our top 10 ranking. So Ellie comes in at number 1. Our 2 All-Stars, lead the top of the chart at 1 and 2. So if you think that we could have changed anything, or you would like to leave a list below, please do so in the comments or DM us on Instagram. Let us know your opinions. We love to hear from you guys. We got a couple comments on the last video. We love the engagement. We'll always like the comment and respond. We look at all of them because we don't get a ton right now. But so we definitely look at those. So let us know your thoughts about our ranking. So I think the next thing that we are going to get into is there's a bit of a, do I want to call it a rumor for Saturday? Because
You found this out. So.
I've been seeing so many things, and tickets are being bought for Saturday about this Paul Skeens, versus Rhett Lauder rematch from, when they pitched in college against each other, Wake Forest and LSU. Apparently they're going to match up on Saturday. The 1 o'clock start, 1 o'clock start time against Pittsburgh. But then I look at the app and it says TBD. So you would think,
but you never know who the Reds are going to throw.
Well,
as
but
well.
the
They could do the opener thing.
Yeah, the only thing I have about that is you would think that if it was going to happen, that they would post it on there and advertise for it.
Yeah, that'd be a big game. 2023 top 10 draft picks.
Yeah, you would think that would be more advertised, especially seeing that the Pirates and Reds are both out of it. So for them to kind of get, some more guys, more people to just buy tickets, in general, and just come out to the ballpark, you would think that they would advertise for it a little bit and be like, at least put it on Reds.com or whatever, because it still says TBD.
Yeah. Rhett Lauder last pitch September 15th, and then Skeens was September 16th. So
last pitched. Okay.
Yeah, that's the last time they pitched. So it's very likely.
And I would assume that Pittsburgh. Can you find if they have look up their schedule? Let's see if the Pittsburgh has an off day on Thursday, because the Reds obviously don't, because they took their off day Monday. So we're gonna see if they have. We're gonna see if we can maybe confirm this.
They're playing right now, and they play tomorrow and Friday.
So they don't have an off day.
So he could pitch. A day
Yeah.
before,
So I don't.
I think Pittsburgh's out. Are they not? They don't.
I mean, they're in the same boat with the
Yeah,
Reds.
okay. So yeah.
So it could happen, but we are going to be there. Regardless, me and Matt Fry are going to be there shooting some content. So we're going to be coming to you with a vlog video. I think Josh is going to come with us too. He's raising his hand saying he's going to go.
He's a big Skeens guy.
Yeah, he loves his Paul
Even though
Skeens,
Lauder's better.
So it'll be a fun time. We're going to go to the ballpark, and hopefully we get to see those guys, at least get to see one of them. I have not seen Paul in person yet. I haven't seen Lauder in person.
We were going to go to his debut when it was rumored about a week before he actually got called up.
Oh, and then we ended up not going.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, I actually haven't seen either of them in person. So it'd be neat to get to watch one of them or both. And if it's both, we're going to have a ton of content coming your way. Either way, we are going to do a little bit of a end of year stadium vlog for you. So we're gonna have some pretty cool content. Hopefully, some more reels. Matt Fry's been, cooking up those reels for us. We actually just posted a Hunter Green one a couple of days ago. Actually, it was last night, but if you're watching this, it was a couple of days ago. But so go check that out on Instagram. Go check out our Jose Rijo reel. Check out
Hunter Green just got uploaded. Hunter
oh.
Green reel.
Yeah, didn't I just say that?
Oh, sorry. I was
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so we have Hunter Green, the Jose Rijo, and the Nasty Boys. So to go check all those out. We'll have a couple more coming your way in the short future. But so I think one more thing I want to talk about. This is kind of a long video, so it's going to be one of our longer ones. But one thing I wanted to talk about very quickly is the Rookie of the Year race between Merrill and Paul Skeens, because this is something that's been talked about a lot. For me, I'm looking more at Jackson Merrill here, and I think Matt has kind of taken the Paul Skeens route. But for me, I know that with pitchers, it's the, do they meet the threshold to where they are qualifying for ERA and all that stuff. But when you're talking about Rookie of the Year, that doesn't matter as much. But I really think with the Padres, if they don't have Jackson Merrill, they are not having the year that they're having, because they've been without Tatis for a while. They've had some, Manny Machado's underperformed. They've had Jurickson Profar, who's played well, but really Profar and Merrill have carried that team. And I think it's a lot more difficult for a hitter to come into the league. This is solely my opinion. If you disagree with this, please let us know. But I feel that it's a lot more difficult for a hitter to come into the league and do what Jackson Merrill is doing, than it is a pitcher, because to me, pitchers always have the advantage. You're going to get a guy out 7 out of 10 times, regardless of how good they are, or, what have you. So I think with the 24 home runs and the 16 stolen bases, he could be another 2020 candidate this year. 288 batting average, which is kind of abnormal for a rookie, and just abnormal for, just the game today. A 820 OPS. He's just been so good. And I really, on base is kind of low, but I just really like what, we've seen, or, what the league has seen from him. It's just been so good. And I think, again, like I keep saying, he's carrying that team. I think they're in the playoffs, right? As we speak, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they hold a wild card spot in a tough, the National League's packed right now with a lot of good teams. So I think he deserves to be the Rookie of the Year. And I think Matt Fry is more on the Paul Skeens train. So we're going to hear a little bit about Paul from Matt Fry.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for a pitcher. Like you said that he's like their most valuable player, the Padres, and without him, where would they be? But Skeens only pitches like once, maybe twice a week.
Right.
And in the games he has pitched, he's got a 10-3 record. And he's got 126 innings, which is pretty good, but doesn't meet the Cy Young requirements.
The 10-3
even though they
really
say
jumps
he's
out.
in the Cy Young race already, and I mean Merrill's not in the MVP race.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, Merrill has been available since he made the opening day roster, and
Right.
I really didn't know who he was, and he's just
kind of burst on the scene. Yeah.
But Skeens I made an immediate impact when he got called up, and he's 158 strikeouts and 126 innings, and he's got a 200 ERA plus, which is a legit Cy Young candidate. Well, voice crack.
That's the second episode in a row, Matt Fry.
Sorry. And I think he's a legit Cy Young candidate right there with Hunter Green and Chris Sale and Zach Wheeler. And
I forgot to mention Zach Wheeler earlier. And I see where that.
I thought Shoto Imanaga had it locked up, honestly.
Oh, yeah, he was so good to start the
couple
year.
months, but then he kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I think for. Yeah, and it's really a 2-man race, because there's not really anybody else that's close to these guys. I mean, there's some good rookies, don't get me wrong, but there's nobody that's really in the ballpark of a Paul Skeens or a Jackson Merrill. So I think
who's winning in the AL Rookie of the Year? I don't even know.
Luis Gill.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Luis Hill.
Him and Cowser are the favorites.
Who?
Colton Cowser.
The Orioles.
Colton Cowser.
I say one of them
Okay,
should have
yeah,
been
I didn't
in the
hear what you said.
conversation, but
Yeah, that's to me, that's probably the thinnest race I think that we have in Major League Baseball. I mean, like they're good players. Like Colton Cowser's a very good player. I would love to have him on the Reds, but it's not like nobody's sitting here going, oh my gosh, the AL Rookie of the Year race is so tight, But
Yeah, these are really good players that'll probably be in All-Stars for years to come. And
I mean, Paul, there's no debating that Paul Skeens is going to be a generational arm if he stays healthy. I mean, there's no debating that. This stuff's off the charts, and I could go on and on and on, but we're kind of we're at a 50-minute video so far. So, yeah, we kind of want to just address that, and so let us also know your thoughts on that. Who would you take? Would you take Paul Skeens? We might actually put a poll up in the next couple of days. Who would you take, Paul Skeens or Jackson Merrill, to win the Rookie of the Year? And let us know your thoughts on all that. Let us know your thoughts on the stuff we talked about today. It's good to get back in the studio and pump out another video for you guys. So yeah, I think that's going to kind of do it for us today. We covered a lot. It's kind of a longer video. If you haven't already, skip through the video and all that good stuff. But yeah, we'll have merch for you in the very near future. Showing it off again to the camera. I know if you're listening to us on Spotify, you obviously can't see what I'm talking about, but we'll also make a post on Instagram about this. And speaking of Instagram, we will wrap up this video by telling you that you can follow us on Instagram and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok. Check out all of our really cool reels. And we will see you next time.